Support for the Dice Tower comes from listeners like you and from the Op, also known as USAopoly. Thanks for your support.
The Dice Tower, episode 671.
Questionpalooza.
Welcome to the Dice Tower, a podcast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On today's show, Mandy and Tom clear out the mailbag with a whole series of questions. But before that, they'll cover some recent games they've been playing, as well as, for some reason, their favorite Pop-Tart recipes. I'm Eric Summerer, and here are your hosts, the Clark Kent and Cara Danvers of board gaming, Tom Vassell and Mandy Hutchinson.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, well, folks, first of all, that's pretty much almost all you're going to hear from Eric in this episode. He is out on vacation, like an indoor vacation somewhere, I guess. Vacations are a very different thing in 2020 than they are most of the rest of the time. But Mandy is here, and she says she will do even better than Eric.
Whoa. I was actually going to say, let's take a moment for Eric not being here, because I know that people truly will miss him. A moment of silence for Eric. Okay, and now I'm going to be awesome. So, absolutely.
I think I've actually titled episodes Questionpalooza before, and I'm not even sure why that's come. But that's right, folks. Today we'll be answering a lot of questions, which means I have gone through the queue. So, well, I have more, but you can send more questions to us. But before we do questions, we're going to talk about games. But before we talk about games, let's talk about other things. Don't forget, we have a newsletter now that you can listen that you can not listen to, you can get sent to you, and it tells you about our latest episodes and news and Kickstarter stuff. And so all you have to do is go to dicetowerdigest.com. You can also get t-shirts for the Dice Tower. Find them on dicetower.com. And we have a news podcast that goes up every week, and that's at Dice Tower Now. Now, I know a lot of people have also been asking questions. What's going on with insert future convention here? And the answer is, I don't know. That's basically it. We did, unfortunately, have to cancel the Dice Tower Retreat, which was happening like in 3 weeks. So that's not happening. Yeah. Other than that, we'll have to wait and see. PAX Unplugged, as of me recording this, has not yet canceled. I imagine it is inevitable, but they haven't canceled. Maybe they're just waiting till a few months out or something.
Yeah, give people, well, you know, it's always good to have a little bit of hope. Maybe it'll happen. So
I know. That's what everyone, it's like every convention, like hope. And I tell my wife I'm really being thrown off by having a sense of normality. Every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I do the same thing. Same thing.
You don't lose track of the time. I lose track of days. The other day, I'm like, oh, what? It's Friday? I thought it was Thursday, or thought it was Monday. I'm losing time. Well,
fortunately, I record some of the same things on the same day, so that helps me keep track.
Got it.
But it is what it is. But fortunately, still great games coming out. Still cool games coming out. Speaking of schedules, every Wednesday at our house. So I'm a middling parent when it comes to parenting. By that I mean I don't let my kids do whatever they want. But I also am not the kind of person who says my kids will never eat sugar. Because, I don't know, I just don't want to do that. So you can judge me for that. But every Wednesday at my house is Pop-Tart Day. Because my kids would eat it every day if I allowed it. So I said, one day a week you can have Pop-Tarts. And for some reason we picked Wednesday. And every morning my son comes down and says, what day is it? I'm like, it's Tuesday. So pretty soon he'll figure out the days of the week and when they are. But the reason I mention all this is because I'm extremely jealous of Mandy, because let's go to her first game.
Yes. Well, if you haven't figured it out already, Pop-Tarts game. So it actually says on the box Kellogg's Pop-Tart game. And just before I go into this, we were in a household where we weren't allowed to. We were in the household you didn't have sugar. Sugar was a no-go in our house. So if we got Pop-Tarts, it was usually because a friend snuck them in and I got to try them. So the Pop-Tarts game, it literally has cards of Pop-Tarts in it. So in the game, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the game from what people have been telling me, Guillotine or Parade, because you're manipulating a row of cards. And you're basically trying to hit a certain amount of points to win the game. And you do that by collecting Pop-Tarts. And you want to try and collect a variety of Pop-Tarts. So potentially from the toaster end of the line or the freezer end of the line and trying to get them into your area. And in doing so, getting points and also trying to complete these kind of bonus cards, which are worth 5 points. So you definitely want to get those in addition to your cards. And I think it's 30 points or something along those lines will end the game. And then whoever has the most points at that time will win. It's really straightforward. Plays in about half an hour.
These guys look delicious.
Right? So good. And we were trying to guess what the Pop-Tarts were just by looking at them. And I think we got them all except for one. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's Wildberry. It's like the purple with the turquoisey icing. Is that what it is?
There's no question. I know every single one of these dearly. Even though I don't often eat Pop-Tarts myself, I look at them as my kids eat them longingly.
And apparently they're quite tasty frozen. I wouldn't know. Never tried it.
Frozen?
That's what I've been told.
Interesting. Do you eat them now? Have you had any?
I have not eaten Pop-Tarts in ages. Like, long time. I'm wondering if I would like it or find it excruciatingly sweet.
I think it depends what kind. But if you ever do get a Pop-Tart, please make sure it's Pop-Tart. You know, these generic rip-off ones that you can get are horrific.
So it has to be the name brand.
Yeah, it really does. Those other ones are just not as good. After that, there's a gazillion different flavors, and they're constantly changing flavors.
Now I'm particular. I probably would stick to a few. But and I should probably mention this is also coming out from this is from Funko Games. I should have started with that. And they've been coming out with some really fun things. There's a few others on my table that I've played, and I'm really excited to talk about at another time. So so the Pop-Tarts game, I recommend you try it. I really liked it. I was surprised. I didn't think I was going to like it, and I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of really. I've said this before, but we just reorganized the Dice Tower library because I got all this time to do it. Right. So we completely reorganized it, and I made a shelf now that is just. I call it IP games type shelf. It's like a Prospero Hall shelf.
Nice.
So there's games from them are on this shelf. So you'll see the cereal game that they came out with what was that called? The Count Chocula one.
Yes, that was good.
And, things like the new Back to the Futures game. It's not just them. It's Ravensburger's making some of this stuff too. And I don't know. I'm really excited about this because if anyone's going to get people to play games, it's these kind of games.
Absolutely.
So, alrighty. Well, my first game that I'm going to talk about, I can't even compare to Pop-Tarts, but this game is called Nidavellir. Nidavellir. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I looked it up, and lo and behold, when I looked up the pronunciation of it, most of the pronunciation guides pointed to the Marvel's Endgame or the Infinity War movie because that's where Thor went to get his new hammer made.
I didn't know that.
Go figure. But this is a game that is you are collecting sets of dwarves in this game, and each colored dwarf that you collect, there are various colors. What's really cool is the artwork's all black and white, but then they have like color banners on the cards.
Oh, neat.
And each color scores differently. So like the blue ones are just a lot of points. The green ones are the square of the number that you have. So if you have 10 of them, that's 100 points. Then other ones score various ways. And so that's kind of neat. But what this game does is it gives you 5 coins. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think. Maybe I might be off. It might be 0, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. It doesn't matter. Each turn, you deal out some of these dwarves under 3 different color banners. And then you secretly will bid one of your coins on those banners. And then you flip the coins over, like for the first banner, and whoever bids the highest coin gets to pick from a dwarf first, and then the second person gets to pick from a dwarf first, etc. So, the higher coin, and if there's a tie, they have this nice little tiebreaker system where someone will win the tie, but then you switch your banner with the person who lost a tie, so they'll win the next tie. But one of the coins is a 0 coin, which means you're probably not going to win. But when you pay the 0 coin, you reveal the 2 coins that you did not use in bidding. You add those 2 values together, and you get a new coin that's that value.
Ooh.
You replace one of those 2 coins. So now you always have 5 coins, but the values go up. In fact, the highest value coin in the game is 25.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
Right. It's really interesting. So
crazy.
do you put your high value coins down there so that you can get an even higher value? Oh. But if you don't, you're not using them to bid.
Right.
And then let's say I do get a 10 value coin. I can still put that on the bottom to make it go up even higher. And so that's fascinating. What also is fascinating is once you have a dwarf of all, I think it's 5 colors. It's either 5 or 6. I don't remember. Once you have a dwarf of all the colors, you get to pick a dwarf leader. And I want to say there's about 20 different dwarf leaders.
Oh, my goodness.
And they're all different. They do cool things. Some are like, they're dwarfs of the different colors, and so they might count as 3 of the green dwarfs that get squared or whatever.
Right.
Some of them are just worth a lot of points. Some give you some special abilities. One gives you a coin that nobody else has, a green coin, and it's a 2 value, but it does the same thing that the 0 value does. Oh. So I'm telling you, I love this game. It's designed by Serge Leggett, who has done amazing stuff. He's one of the co-designers of Shadows over Camelot, Mystery of the Abbey, Mystery Express, Mare Nostrum, etc. And unfortunately, it's not out in American yet, although it is. I mean, the game has English rules. It's from Grrrr Games. That's GRRRE Games. And several others. And I know for a fact somebody has it coming to America. I don't know who, though.
Okay.
I know for a fact because I like this game so much I tried to get in the Dice Tower Essentials line.
Oh.
I really, really like it. It's fast and smooth. And I would say if I was explaining it, I would say it's a gamer version of Splendor.
Okay, and I was about to ask you weight-wise, it doesn't sound as heavy as some of the other games potentially that he's done. So
no, but I don't know that his games. I mean, okay, Mare Nostrum's a heavier game.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
but like Shadows over Camelot, I wouldn't consider that to be too heavy. And what else has he done? Well, Mystery of the Abbey's not awfully heavy either. He's done one of my favorite games of his, Castle, which is Cheops, Argo. So I don't know. I kind of like his stuff a lot, but he's not as well known as he often co-designs.
Got it.
And so he co-designs with Bruno Catala, Bruno Feduti, and those guys kind of tend to take the that they're the name everyone knows. But I'm telling you, I really, really like this game. A 9 out of 10. I don't do that very often. And I want to play it again and again and try different combinations of leaders.
Right.
And it's fast. It's like 30, 45 minutes. So
do you like those bidding? I noticed that you like those kind of, I don't want to say weird bidding games, but different ones. Was it QE? There was another one that you really liked that had
QE,
some kind of...
yeah, but QE is weird. This one is not so much weird because what I like about it is no matter what number you bid,
right,
you're going to get a dwarf. You just may not get the color you want it. So you're going to get dwarves and you're going to get points at the end. So you feel like you're getting something. It's just that you're trying to figure out which color. Like I might want to get a whole bunch of this color this turn.
Right.
Also, the coins are worth points at the end of the game too.
Oh, okay.
So if you get the 25 coin, that's worth 25 points. And in fact, the red dwarfs, if you have the most red dwarfs at the end, your highest coin, is doubled in points.
Oh, so it's like another strategy you could take.
Yeah, but there's no way you can get all of them. It's impossible. Okay. So you have to really kind of put your effort into which one you want. So that's Nidavellir. I think that's how you pronounce it.
That looks about right, but
it's Nidavallir.
No, it sounds. I've never heard of it, so this is great. Another game that I've played, and again, I seem to be doing a lot of virtual gameplay, so physical game and then a camera and kind of shooting that out to everybody else when we play that way, so it gets a little crazy. Targi with the Targi expansion. So I had played Targi before, and I really liked Targi, and then I got to try the expansion, and I think this is published by Cosmos, if I'm not mistaken. And in Targi, I'll just give a brief overview. It's a 2-player game. And in it, you have kind of a tableau area. So there's an outer area of cards and then an inner area of cards. And they're different. This is why I had to kind of differentiate between the two. And you take turns. Basically, you're placing your little figures out onto this tableau or board. And it allows you to get potentially goods or actions. And now when I say the tableau, you're placing it actually on the outer edges. And there are some restrictions, like you can't place across from another player and things like that. So it can be really tricky. And then when it comes time to resolving which cards you're going to do, it's actually based on the kind of intersection points of where you've put your workers. Because I think you only have 3 that you can put out. And then once you check where those intersection points are and whatever they land on, those are the cards you're going to be able to action. So some are goods. So you potentially could get goods like a sugar, salt, or pepper or something along those lines.
we always call them by the wrong names. There's this one good, I can't remember what it is now, that we always call. I always call it by the incorrect thing because...
Oh, which one is it now? No, it's salt. It's not sugar. Soups.
It's not salt, right? Oh, I forgot. Oh, figs. We don't call them figs. I call them beans because it looks like a bowl of beans.
Those are figs? I've been calling them nuts.
Well, there you go.
Oh, okay, I learned something new today. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen and everyone. Nuts? No, it is not nuts. It is figs. Okay, I will try and remember that for next time. So once you find those intersection points, you action the cards. Some of them are good. Some of them are actual cards that you're trying to collect because the point of the game is you're trying to create your tableau. I think it's 12 cards. I could be wrong on that. Ideally is what you want, but I think it triggers the end of the game when a certain amount of cards are reached in your tableau.
Right, 12.
And 12. Okay, I couldn't remember. And those cards have little symbols on them or pictures on them, and you ideally want to try and either get in your rows the same picture across or different ones. You don't want to have it repeating, otherwise you're not going to score points for them. And some of these cards give you abilities that you can use throughout the game and so forth. And then basically you're going to count points based on your cards or points that you gained throughout the game. So that's the base game of Targi. The expansion adds a few other things. It adds, and I don't remember the correct terminology, it's like a little purple marker that goes around the board. So this moves.
Oh, yeah, some other person. I don't even remember what they're called.
Somebody else that moves around the sides of the board. And basically what happens is if you land on a spot with this person, they can give you better benefits and that sort of thing in the game, which is really nice. I think it's the Queen or something it's called. And then there's another kind of tableau area with these cards that are awesome and really powerful that you can basically use one of your actions to get one of these cards, and some of them are usable in the game or potentially usable later in the game if you want to use it at that point. So those are some of the key differences, and then there's some different cards that come out in the tableau. I have to say, I really use those new kind of powerful cards. My friend really took advantage of, I'm going to call it the Queen, I'm not sure, but the purple figure that goes around the board because it really allowed for some extra actions or extra goods in the game. So overall, I mean, I liked Targi to begin with. The expansion, this is hard to explain. I liked it. I like Targi regardless. I do find playing with the expansion, you're not using all of the cards because you take cards from the original game and then just a small portion from the new game and kind of shuffle them in. So I didn't find we were using a ton of the new stuff, just a few of those little add-ons that I mentioned. So I liked it. I mean, would I...
Well, wait a minute. What did you say about the cards being shuffled in? You actually just replaced the deck.
Sorry, replace the deck. Oh, I was getting confused. Yes. So what I basically was saying, I didn't find there to be a lot of difference with cards. Maybe that's where I was trying to go with that.
I 100% agree on this. I love Targi. I think it's a fantastic game.
Yeah.
And by the way, this purple person's called the Targia or Targia.
Targia.
Which
where did I get
think
Queen?
We would remember since it's the name of the game. But...
That is so sad. And yes, you can shame me for that because I 100%.
Oh, I had to look it up. I'm not shaming nobody.
No, anybody listening, 100%. I should have known that.
I agree with you. It's more the same. Now, the Oasis cards in the side are great. It adds a really cool thing because they're really powerful. But if you go there, you give up one of your workers, which means you only have one intersection on the board instead of 2.
Right.
And in fact, you could even go there twice and get no intersections on the board. But these cards are so good that it's worth it.
I agree.
To me, the best analogy for this, I think, is it's like owning Ticket to Ride and buying a new map.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it. Exactly that. That's perfect.
I like this. It's fine. I don't think you need it. But if you are a Targi fanatic, then of course you're going to want to get it because it's like playing Targi 1.5.
Yes. Yeah, you know what? You nailed it. You nailed it on the head. That's exactly how I would describe it. It's not a necessity, but yeah, if you're a big fan, great. Then you can grab it. Is it going to be super amazing awesome? No, I mean, it's still going to be a good game, but it's not a necessary thing.
But I do have to put in the obligatory Andreas Steiger, the designer, Come on, design something else. Targi's his only game, and it's so good.
It's
you
so
got
good.
something else.
So yeah, I don't even know of the name of it, but it's Targi with the Targi expansion. I think that's what it is. Targi.
I think it's just Targi the expansion. They didn't even try.
Easy to remember.
All righty, let's jump to the hypest hype of the hype games, which is Pendulum. This is the latest Stonemaier game, which of course got all the big buzz. And because of when I could talk about it, like I think it was the day after my last recording, so that's why it's taken me so long to get it here on the podcast. I don't want to go too much in depth on this, folks, because there's so much on the internet about it, and there's so much hype about these games. But I do want to mention it. This is a real-time game. Ignore any buzz that tells you otherwise. It's a real-time game. There are timers in this game, and you flip these timers back and forth, and you place workers when a timer's not in an area, you can place a worker there. When the timer's flipped to that area, you can then use that worker's ability. But you can't move them to a new area till the timer moves off of them. And then there's 3 different timers. There's a 30-second or 45-second, 2-minute timer, and a 3-minute timer. Now, this is, other than that, it is essentially get resources, use these resources to move up on these tracks. There is some sort of anachronistic theme of time and whatever, but it is not there. Okay, there is no theme. You are literally moving discs down tracks. Anyone tries to tell me there's a theme is making it up. And I like the game okay, but I found that I felt like I played it all, and also I feel like it's a game that I played and I could find a few people to like it, but so many people don't like real time. I tend to love real time when combined with co-op because we're all on the same team. We're all under that stress. And when time runs out or whatever, if anything happens, we can, it was all of us together. But a timed game that's competitive, the person who's faster thinking has a huge advantage. And I say that as somebody who is not usually prone to AP, and I am probably a little faster of a player than other people. I'm not saying I'm smarter. I'm saying I'm faster.
Still a good quality.
That gives me a huge advantage, though, and I don't think I don't know. I mean, the person who's slower is just not going to enjoy it as much.
Right.
Now, the game does include a way to play without the timers, but if you do that, I haven't played it that way, but if you do that, I can't imagine it being anything more than the most generic of worker placement games. Why would I get this out of the many that are out there? It's also ugly as dirt.
Oh no! Really?
Well, I mean, it kind of.
I haven't seen it. I have no idea what this looks like. I heard real time and went, ooh, no. Ooh.
Yeah, and you know what? And every time people hear it, they're like, ooh, and then the advertising and everything, they're like, no, it's not real time. Yeah, it is. Yes, you can pause at points and go, that timer's about to flip. What am I going to do next? But you know why you're thinking of that? The timer flips. Because think about this. There's a 45-second timer, a 2-minute timer, and a 3-minute timer. At most, every 45 seconds, a timer is being flipped.
Right.
So then the 45-second timer gets flipped. I say, I can change these yellows for this. And so I do that. Then I'm like, I can play a card from my hand. And, the timer's about to flip again. And it's constantly like that. So if you like to think about your decisions and mull them over, you won't like this. That being said, I didn't think it was bad either. It's fine. I just think it's going to be very divisive.
Right.
And if you like Mandy said that she said real time and she was like, I would say, then I don't think you'll like it.
Okay.
Like it's not like, no, you should still try it. I wouldn't say that. But if you do like that real-time competitive stuff, maybe this one's for you.
I've been hearing a lot of mixed reviews, kind of leaning to the it's okay. And I heard a lot of what you said. Like they felt like people have felt like they had played it. They played it once or twice and, did their review and they're like, okay, I'm good. And that's unfortunate because I think a lot of people were really looking forward to this one.
Well, sure. I mean, Stonemaier Games is a master at definitely promoting their games for sure. And they put out some fantastic games. I mean, I played Wingspan. That's one of my most played games from last year.
Wingspan's great.
So they have that reputation too. But
sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have to see. We'll see where it lands, but I suspect it will not be super high. But that's Pendulum.
Pendulum. All right. Good to know. Well, I seem to be playing a lot of these quirky little games. And the next one we're going to talk about is called Mia London and the Case of the 625 Scoundrels. That is
I love this. I love this title.
It's so good. It's so good. It's really geared towards children or family. So this is published by Scorpion Masqué, and it's a game that involves memory, which is not my strong suit, but I did fairly well here. So in the game, you are trying to create a scoundrel. There's a booklet that you get, and it has different features for hats, glasses, mustaches, and there's something else I missed. Bow ties. So it's a book that basically it's going to make you can make any type of scoundrel. They look kind of like monsters, dependent on cards that you see. So what ends up happening is you have cards for all of the things that I just mentioned. And you first start with the pile you end up taking one out of each card type. So one hat, one bow tie, one mustache, glasses, and so forth. So that's going to be the scoundrel that you're trying to create or figure out. So what happens is you have let's start with the hats first, shuffle up the deck, and then you flip 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you start again from the front, from the first card you placed, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you basically keep flipping them until the deck empties. You're trying to keep an eye out for the hat that's missing. There's 2 of each hat, so you have to keep an eye and say, oh, I didn't see this hat a second time. That's going to be the hat that I'm going to flip in my little booklet. Done. Then you go to the next, which is the glasses, and you shuffle up that pile, and then you're going to make 3 cards come out. So 1, 2, 3, and then you start again from the beginning, 1, 2, 3, and you keep flipping them out like that until they're all gone. And again, you're looking for that second pair of glasses that hasn't shown up. Once you figure that out, or you think you know, you flip your little book and you put those glasses in your book. And this is all secret. No one's seeing that you're doing this. And you continue to do that for the mustaches, except it's 2 cards, and then you do it again for the bow tie, and it's 1 card at a time that comes out. So, and then basically after it's done, you flip over the cards that you had taken out, and it shows the characteristics or the things that were missing out of the deck, so the glasses, the hats, and so forth. And if your monster matches those cards or your scoundrel matches those cards, yay, you win. That's literally the game. So it's super quick, it's light, it's a little silly. I mean, as an adult playing it, great. This might be something I play once, or with my nephew or something like that because he's young, but that would be it. So it's not really geared towards someone like me, but I think as a family game, I think it would be really cute. And kids are ruthless, especially when it comes to these types of games. They're very smart with these sort of things. So I liked it.
I have to say, I love the art in this.
Right. Oh, you're looking it up. It's great, right? It's so good. They're like clay, not clay. I don't know how to explain it.
No, that's what I would have. It does look like claymation, or maybe they're almost puppets, like Muppets. Yeah. Maybe
it's like a mixture of that. Yeah, like Muppets clay. You have to see it. The illustrations are fantastic. So while it's not necessarily a game for adults, I think it would be a great game with younger kids or a family type game, and everybody can have fun with it. And you don't even need the booklet. My friend played it. She basically drew her own scoundrel and then used like a laminate sheet or something so she could draw the things on versus having to use the book. So we played it online, so you could actually play it with a lot of people, and it's quite fun.
All right, my next game I'm going to talk about sounded like it was a joke at first, and that's Small World of Warcraft.
Oh, okay, that's a thing.
So it's Small World, but with the theming of World of Warcraft. Now, Small World has been one of Days of Wonder's most popular games. They got Ticket to Ride, and Memoir 44, and then probably Small World is number 3. It's done extremely well for them. World of Warcraft, you may have heard of. It's slightly popular in the computer game world. And it has been for a decade or more. And fortunately, that's true, a movie. Fortunately, I have managed to, this far in my life, not test those waters of addiction. Yeah. But I know what they can do to you. So, Mandy, have you played Small World?
I have.
Okay, so then I can explain this, and hopefully if you're listening, if you've never played Small World, well then, I apologize, but I'm going to speak from the aspect of someone who plays Small World. Small World, basically, it's a small world, you have civilizations, and you're trying to score points every turn. Uh-huh. This one does not have a fixed map. It has a bunch of different land masses, and you can flip and match them, and you use a certain number of land masses based on the number of players. So every game will be slightly different that way with these different maps. And each of these maps has little icons on certain spots. These are starting points where your civilizations will come in. Mm-hmm. On your turn, you can, just like the original game, you can start a new civilization. You'll take one of these random races and special abilities, The races are all the ones you would expect to find in World of Warcraft, from the orcs to blood elves to Pandakai, which I know was in one of the expansions. Murlocs are in the game. I didn't know Murlocs were in World of Warcraft, but they're definitely in Hearthstone, which I know quite well, to the point where they're the neutral people on the board. Whenever we kill one, we'd be like, roar, roar, roar. You know, I don't know if you played Hearthstone, but
I have not.
I've killed many a Murloc in Hearthstone. You know their sound effect. But so the special abilities, as far as I can tell, some of these special ability, the small tiles, are the same as ones we've seen before. But most of them, and almost, I think all the races, are different. So that's good. So you're not buying just a reskin of Small World.
Right.
It's a brand new game. The game also gives you a point if you destroy a piece from the opposite team. Many of these are on Alliance or Horde affiliations. So if you're Horde and you kill Alliance, if you're Alliance and you kill Horde. And by the way, someone has explained to me why World of Warcraft picks two such generic names to call their teams.
Easy to remember.
Sure, but those are words used for other things. Like if I said, what Alliance are you in? Alliance.
Right, yeah.
Oh, and here comes the Horde. A horde of monsters? No, the other team.
Okay. That's
Okay, maybe it's just me. I know that. I guess if you're a World of Warcraft, you know that sort of thing. You know. Anyhow, that's an outsider looking in. Anyhow, so if you kill them, you get an extra point. And in fact, the game comes with a scenario where you can play a team-based game of World of Warcraft, where you play Alliance, Horde, and or neutral races if you have an odd number. I like it. I mean, I like Small World a lot. The World of Warcraft theme fits on it very well. It's probably slightly more complex than Small World. Not that much more, but there's a little bit more going on. And, of course, I'm learning all these new races and special abilities, which we didn't know from before.
Right.
But this keeps falling into that category of I hope people who like World of Warcraft buy this and play it because it's such a great game.
So what about people who like Small World but are not familiar with World of Warcraft?
I think it's just another fantasy world to you, right?
Got it.
I don't know World of Warcraft that well. I know some about it. I don't know it that well. Whatever. It's not like the races in World of Warcraft were that unique. You know, they have orcs and elves and stuff. People know what those are. So whether you know them or not, you're going to enjoy it. Right. I don't know anything about these Pandakai, but they're pandas. Come on now, that's awesome.
That's it, exactly.
I actually like their special ability too. If they don't attack the other players, they give them some sort of peace token or something. And then if they attack you, they have to pay you 2 victory points, which I like a lot.
That's pretty awesome.
So it's kind of like a peaceful race of sorts.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. Small World's not peaceful at all. And then if you're listening to this, it's a mean game.
Oh.
But everyone is mean to everybody all the time. So it's not like you feel singled out, that someone will just destroy all your units because you're going to do the same thing to them on your next turn. But the scores were comparable to Small World. I like it. Great production. And I'm glad to see Days of Wonder still putting out good quality games.
Yeah, they do. They put out really great games. I'd be interested in trying this one, Small World of Warcraft. I literally thought it was a joke when you said it. But
right. When I first heard it announced, it sounded like one of those Photoshop contests where they say, smash 2 things together.
Exactly. And this is what we came up with.
Alrighty. Woof. Well, that's our games. We're almost to questions. But first, we have Geoff.
3, 2, 1,
go. It's time for Game Tech with Geoff Engelstein, where we find out how games really work.
Let's say that I'm trying to figure out if the different strategies in a new design are balanced. I think that they're balanced, but hey, testing is always good, right? And so I play a bunch of games with people. And in the first game, the guacamole strategy wins. But then in a few other games, the teleporter strategy wins, and sometimes it's the ninja strategy that is victorious. This game sounds pretty good, right? Well, one way to use this data to decide if it's balanced is just to look at the results from those playtests and see what wins more. But these games are all being played with new people and different groups of people, so maybe that's impacting things. And before the tests even start, I, as the designer, have a pretty good idea of the relative strengths of the strategies from my solo playtesting and some basic math that I ran through. So the average of these tests may not be all that valid. So there's a method I can use in this situation called Bayesian inference, which is an offshoot from Bayes' theorem. Now, Bayes' theorem was developed by Thomas Bayes, who was a Presbyterian minister in the 1700s in the United Kingdom. It concerns what is called conditional probability. If I observe something, what is the chance that something else is true? Now, one of the canonical examples of Bayes' theorem is to understand the results of tests for diseases, given that tests may result in false positives or false negatives. In light of what is happening worldwide with COVID, understanding this is increasingly important for everyone. Now, as an example of the type of problem that Bayesian statistics can deal with, let's say that someone has symptoms for a disease, and so you test them and they test positive. However, you know if someone doesn't have the disease and takes the test, 10% of the time they show that they have it, a false positive. And you know that if someone has a disease and takes the test, then 1% of the time it says they don't have the disease, a false negative. You also know that about 2% of the population has the disease. So if someone tests positive, what are the chances they actually have it? Now, I won't bother going through all the math here, but you can see that this can get pretty complicated. The results can also be counterintuitive. Most people dramatically overestimate the chances of actually having the disease after a positive result. But the other aspect of Bayesian statistics is called Bayesian inference. What this lets you analyze is, in an admittedly simplistic explanation, how much you should change your opinions based on new information. In statistics jargon, it's about how much you should change your, quote, priors. A prior is the percentage chance that you assign to how much something is true or accurate. It is most typically used in scientific experiments. Let's say I have an 80% confidence that a theory is correct. If I get new information that says that hypothesis is false, should I change my 80% confidence to 0%? No. Maybe there was an experimental, maybe there's some other confounding factors, maybe something else is going on. But how much should I reduce it? That's what Bayesian inference tells you. Maybe I should reduce my priors from 80% true to 70% true. And now if I keep getting information that goes against that belief, the percentage should continue to decrease. This is how Bayesian inference can be useful in my playtesting example. If I believe that something is 50% balanced, as I get more data, I can just constantly adjust that assumption. Another game-related place where Bayesian analysis is used is the Board Game Geek ratings. Let's say that the first two ratings for a game are 10s. Is the game really a 10? Maybe, but probably not. Maybe one of them is from the designer's mother. Hi, Mom. Now, instead, a better approach is to assume that the game really has an average rating, say a 6 for the sake of argument, and then adjust that based on the new ratings. So the 6 is our prior, and the 10 is new data. So now maybe our prior is adjusted to 6.1 or 6.2. If a huge number of 10s are added, then the true rating should start to move closer to 10. Now, Board Game Geek does not use a true Bayesian calculation. The exact algorithm is secret to help prevent people exploiting it, but it is believed that at least at its core, it starts by putting in about 100 dummy votes of an average value and then adding new data to that. So as reviews are added, those dummy votes will be dominant. But when there are 1,000 ratings, the dummies will have less impact. Now, in my opinion, we should all be using a Bayesian approach to information and the world. We all have priors, opinions, and varying levels of confidence about different issues and facts in the world. When we encounter new facts, and we believe that they are from trustworthy and respected sources, we should adjust our opinions accordingly. We should neither be absolutely rock solid in our opinions, nor rapidly change them based on whatever the latest report says. We should incorporate what we learn and adjust our internal priors over time. Too often I see games of gotcha played with politicians, for example, where they show a clip of them from 20 or 30 years ago, and they said something which doesn't match what they are saying now. And that somehow is held up as an example of hypocrisy and lack of conviction. But I disagree. I prefer it when people are willing to change their views based on new information. Paul Samuelson, the Nobel laureate from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, recalled that economist John Maynard Keynes once was challenged for altering his position on some economic issue. quote, "When my information changes," you remember that Keynes had said, "I change my mind. What do you do?" This is Geoff Engelstein with Game Tech.
Hey, folks. Just wanted to quick give a shout out to our sponsor for this episode, the Op. And we are talking about one of their games today called Telestrations Upside Drawn. Yes, that's right. The word is drawn, D-R-A-W-N. And it's upside drawn. What that means is one person holds the pen, but they don't move at all. The other person moves the sheet of paper. Well, it's not a sheet of paper. It's a whiteboard. So you have to draw with the board. Have you ever tried that? Not as easy as you might think, but extremely hilarious to watch. And the only thing you can do, you can't say anything, but you can say up and down to the person holding the pen because, like, all right, lift the pen up, and then you move it to another spot and you go around. You can actually see this game being played from my daughters on our video channel, so you can go jump in there and watch how that's played. Comes with 4 sketchboards, erase markers, 1,000 words. So give this one a try. That is Telestrations Upside Drawn.
Questions.
Alrighty, like I said at the beginning of the episode, it's Questionpalooza time, so we have a whole lot of questions, and we're going to just jump right into them. I'll read the first question here from Nicholas. He says that he's recently been playing Pillars of the Earth and looking back at our comments, and the main mechanism of drawing your worker out of the bag and then deciding to pay money to use right away or pass and not pay money has always been touted as a great mechanic. Why don't we see this mechanic used in other games if it's so loved? Or is it? And I've just missed those games.
Good question. I never really thought about it. Do you think it just leaves it too open?
It's, as far as I know, I have never seen this in another game.
No.
Now, it is a little bit problematic. I love the mechanism, right? But if you're the first person to be pulled from the bag, very rarely does that person place their worker on the board. It's just too expensive.
Right.
So it's almost like bad luck, But if you can't place it, you still get to place it first of the people who don't pay anything. Mm-hmm. So there's that. There's some luck involved in it. But yeah,
I can't.
I don't know.
I had to think about this one for a while, actually, and I don't think I can think of any. I'm sure there was one or two that I can't think of, but you're right. If it's saying it's so popular, how come we don't see it more often?
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, maybe. But this is what we'll throw this question to you, the listeners. Yeah. Is there such a thing? Because I've played quite a few games, and I've not run across it at all. So, all right, thanks, Nicholas. Let's jump to John's question.
Okay. What are some tactile sensation in games that you do not enjoy? For example, John dislikes games where you have to roll a single die. Rolling 2 or more dice is great, but something about rolling a single d6 just doesn't feel right. The second question, which is semi-related, what are some of your favorite dice games that don't use d6s? There's different types of dice out there, but most dice checking games use a standard d6 or custom printed d6s. And are there any good games where you can roll a handful of different types of dice?
All right, so the first one is a tricky one. I thought about that. I will agree that I like rolling 2 dice more than 1, but I don't know that I dislike rolling 1.
Oh, I think I do dislike 1.
I dislike rolling a 4-sided die because that feels like you're just throwing a piece of cardboard.
Right? Plunk.
Oh, I know a tactile sensation. I don't necessarily like flipping tokens or coins. I think it's because I can't do it.
That's me with cards.
Very well.
That's me with cards.
But, with cards, I think I'm not a huge fan of shuffling a few cards.
Yes!
Like in Dominion, the first 5 or 6 turns, I'm like, come on. After a while, you have like 20, 30 cards in your deck. You're like, yeah, this is a deck.
It's true. It just never feels like it's shuffled properly if it doesn't have the right amount of cards. Yes, I have to agree with all of these things.
Oh, and also, I get that people want to protect cards, but I just tactically hate shuffling sleeved cards. I hate it.
I feel it's kind of satisfying.
Is it?
I like the part where you, mesh them together and it gives you, there's a bit of resistance and then they kind of just smush together. I know that sounds really weird, but if you shuffle with sleeves, you will know exactly what I'm talking about.
No, I know what you're talking about. I guess. Well, how about shuffling plastic cards? Have you ever done that?
Yes.
It's the worst.
It's hard because they're not very pliable.
Well, they also, if they're slippery at all, they just go all over the table.
That's a fair point.
I also don't like bending over and picking up a cube that somehow dropped under my chair, but then bounced 6 feet across the room and landed in the only spot of yellow on the carpet.
Yep. Not good.
All right. Well, let's go to a more serious question, I guess. Dice games that don't use D6s. Well, that could be like a whole show.
Well, I find a lot of... It's funny. I was talking to Suzanne about this, and there's a few roll and writes that don't use D6s.
Ooh, roll to the top.
Yeah, roll to the top. On Tour is another one. Food Truck.
That one I have not played.
On Tour.
Food Truck I have played.
Yeah, On Tour they have it in an app as well. But yeah, the actual game, they're big too. They're big dice. I don't remember how many sides are on this one, but they're substantial. So and it's again, roll and write game. It's pretty fun.
Now, the one thing that he said here that is very rare is a game where you roll different sided dice at the same time.
True.
So roll to the top is one of those.
Mm-hmm.
You roll, I think you can pick the dice that you roll, basically, when it's your turn to roll. But you can roll a 6-sided, a 12-sided, whatever, together.
Exactly.
I'm trying to think. I think Food Truck, you also do that, maybe?
I don't remember. This is one that was suggested to me from Suzanne because I couldn't think of any. I haven't played Food Truck yet.
But usually you don't roll different sided dice together.
No.
In fact, whenever I play a role-playing game, if there is such a weapon that does that, I want it. Like, this weapon is 1d6 and a d12. I'm like,
Actually, that would be pretty strong.
I don't know why. That's super satisfying to me. So if you're my dungeon master, give it to me. Give me a d8 plus a d6.
It's true.
Yes, it's not as good as 2d8, but for some reason, it feels good.
Strong, exactly.
Matilda says, have you ever worked on a top 10 list of games you wish you had designed yourself? I guess that'd be more likely to revolve around mechanics than themes or anything else. And Matilda says the last time they had that feeling was Robin of Locksley. It's clever and subtle design, not necessarily a heavy one. That's so smart, it makes me jealous.
Don't forget there's a winky smiley face there, too. I like that.
Okay, see, for me, if I was looking at this, if I like, what 10 games I wish I designed? Well, I can tell you right now, Monopoly, Uno, Ticket to Ride, Catan, because I would be so rich.
That's a fair point. They have staying power.
I don't know. I guess when you see a mechanism that's so clever,
right,
that it's never been done before, like the Dominion. Mm-hmm. The first time I played Dominion, I was like, wow, why has no one ever done this before?
That's true. It's one of the first. And I'm trying to think of a game that I just couldn't stop playing because it was so good. But I enjoyed how it played. It's been, and I have to tell you, it's been a long time since I've had a game where I was like, oh, this is amazing, and I wanted to play it all the time.
Yeah, but I still don't know that even if it's an amazing game, I don't know that I wish I designed them myself. Mm-hmm. Again, I might sit there and think, oh man, if I designed that game, I'd make money, I guess, or I'd be famous. But those are both, one's somewhat selfish and the other's somewhat egotistical. I don't know. And again, I'm not saying Matilda's doing this, right?
Right.
I know what they're saying. They're saying, oh, it's a clever game. They wish they had come up with that idea, right? I'm really content with it. It's kind of like a movie. I don't wish I had made a movie that's really good. I just enjoy watching it.
Right. And I fall into that. I mean, at the end of the day, I could never be a game designer. It's just not my realm, and I have a lot of respect for people who do it. So again, I think I'm more of the appreciate it, and I can love to appreciate. But yeah, I don't think there's anything that I'm like, I wish I designed that. Okay, well, we have a question here from Lachlan. I hope I pronounced that correctly. We all know that deluxe versions of games have become a big part of the hobby in the last few years, and some of the most extravagant of those are truly massive. Living in Australia, the shipping cost on deluxe games is terrifying. This has made me think about the potential for the opposite to exist. Mass market games have had travel versions for years with shrunken versions of components to make the game light and portable. With the globalization of the market, do you think we will see smaller versions of existing hobby games that are cheaper to produce and ship? Micro Scythe with standees and tokens instead of minis and custom wooden buildings, Travel Blood Rage with cheap tokens instead of expensive minis, Pocket Azul with chits replacing tiles.
Oh, that would make me so sad, that last one.
Really? Pocket Azul?
No. With the chits replacing
Oh,
the tiles.
yeah, no, the tiles would still have to stay, I think.
The tiles in Azul are so satisfying.
Right? It's so true. I thought I was the only one who thought that.
Now, I get it. I actually am kind of on Lachlan's side here. The deluxe versions of games. So right now, downstairs, I have a box of games from a company who's known for making big games. And it's exciting to some degree, but also I'm thinking, how am I going to store these things?
Right.
They're huge. And I've gotten some small games that have become huge, like Sentinels of the Multiverse, which is a small card game,
Right, but
basically.
it's a lot.
And have you seen that mega box they make for it?
I have.
It's like a small person could fit inside that box. I mean, it's huge to the point where we put it in the Dice Tower library.
Right.
And I don't know that it's been checked out more than 5 times.
Oh, no.
Because it's so overwhelming, right? Also, you need some strength to move it. But I mean, it's not just that, but it's the shipping cost is very expensive. And Australia, unfortunately, is one of the worst countries for this because if they're getting it from any other country, it's coming overseas.
Right.
And so I get that people want smaller versions. My worry is, my concern is, I'm just not sure that you need these. Not because I don't think we need these smaller games. I just think small games exist. They're just not. Yes, there's no Micro Scythe or Travel Blood Rage, but you have Tussy Mussy and the Roll and Write games and the Tiny Epic games and many, many, many games that are already small and built to be that way.
But this opens another kind of door, another path for affordability. Do you know what I mean? Because gaming is an expensive hobby. It doesn't matter how you slice it.
For sure.
It's really expensive. So maybe kind of having these types of things will encourage maybe some people that were like, hey, I couldn't afford to do this, or I couldn't afford to get these games or play these games, might say, hey, I can get a little taste of this game in this version. So they're still getting to play the game, but just in a more affordable version. I don't know. That's something to consider.
Sure, it's just that I'm not sure the bigger game translate well to the smaller one.
Understood.
So like Travel Blood Rage, cheap token instead of expensive minis. Okay, I get that part, but then what about the vast amount of cards in that game? Are you going to shrink them down to be small?
Right.
And the board itself, at some point it becomes difficult, and I do not mean to rant on the Tiny Epic games, but sometimes when I'm playing a game like Tiny Epic or something like that, I sit there and go, man, I wish this was bigger. I'm not getting younger. My eyesight is not getting better. And my hands are not getting steadier.
Right.
So these small little games, the bigger deluxe ones are actually easy for me to mess with. So that's the other side of things. And if I was a game designer, I might not want a game that I designed that's grandiose to be minimized.
Right.
It's kind of like those directors who do not want their movies cut down.
Yeah.
Even though it happens anyway.
Right, exactly.
But then they release the director's cut and say, that's what you're supposed to watch.
Extended versions.
Well, but Kickstarter, I think we could agree that things are just getting too big at this point.
Right.
When I back a game on Kickstarter now, I have to sit there and go, do I really need to back it at the highest level? Those high levels it's just like stop.
It's a lot.
Stop and more stuff.
Do we need the stuff? No, we don't need all the things.
And I mean, I know people like that, and that's exciting. But yeah, but the good news is, Mandy and I were talking before we start recording about button shy games. I love the fact I don't love all the button shy games. I love some of them. Some of them I don't think are that good. But I love that they exist.
Right.
Because that is a niche that they make wallet games. You can put them in your pocket very easily. You can put 5 of them in your pocket. And I love that sort of thing exists. And they're not the only ones. I already mentioned Tiny Epic games from Game One Games. There's the roll and write movement.
Yep.
Is huge. Also, you can do this. This may not satisfy you, but you can also play a lot of these games as apps or online and get that epic experience.
Absolutely.
Like Blood Rage was just released on Steam. And some of these games that are big, grandiose games, you can play on your iPad. I just played Sentinels of the Multiverse on my iPad today. Very nice, clean, easy, and I didn't have to drag out that gigantically humongous black box.
Right. It does take away from some of that. Absolutely.
Brian, on the same note, is getting cynical
Uh-oh.
and frustrated with buying games. Actually, put these questions back to back on purpose. Only to find that all the components could fit in a box half its size. And he says he knows in Japan they generally package games in smaller boxes. As a side note, not only do they do that, they have some pretty strict rules. Like the Oink games,
Yes.
they will refuse to allow another publisher to put them in a bigger box.
Yes, I did hear that.
Anyway, he says, do you think this is something we're likely to see in the future? Do you think publishers should not change their ways with these ridiculous box sizes?
I mean, I think this also comes down to how it looks in a store. Or, you know what I mean? And
Right.
when you're placing it on shelves, trying to face, for anybody who does merchandising, you'll know the word facing. When you're trying to face these things on a shelf, make it look really nice and pretty and, ooh, I want to buy that. You want the things that are bigger. The smaller games are the ones that kind of sit near the cash register as like a little add-on. Do you know what I mean? So their presence.
They're also more easily shopped.
That as well, exactly. So I think, and it's a selfish reason, but I honestly think that some of the boxes, the sizes that they are, is to have appeal on the shelf. I don't think all, but a lot of them are like that.
And I think we all agree that there's sometimes you open a game and you're like, are you kidding me? The box is too big.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't mind. I don't know that I need airtight boxes. I think those are. I'm getting some of those lately, and they're starting to frustrate me because I need to play a game called "How Do You Fit It Back in the Box?"
Paladins.
Oh my word!
It's
Yes,
a tight one.
yes. But see, what's that company's name? It's
Garfield?
Garfield Games has decided that that's their box size.
Yes.
And come hell or high water, they're fitting that into the box.
It does fit. To be clear, it fits. You just have to, work it in there.
Yeah.
But it does fit.
And I don't mind if you leave some space, especially if you're a company that inevitably releases an expansion, but I
Right.
would like to fit in that base box. That being said, I also have found on a personal level, forget the stores, and definitely it's a case,
Sure.
right? There's proven fact that smaller games don't sell as well. Proven.
Yeah.
And it's also a proven fact that if it's in a bigger box, people think it's a better value for the money. You can call it cynical, but these companies want to stay in business. But also on my shelf, when I'm pulling a game off, I have that shelf, as many gamers do, of all the small games all piled on top of each other, right? They just get played less then because you'll say, oh, that's right. I forgot about that game. Because it's so small, your eyes just roll right over
It's
it.
true. It's true. Unless it's brightly colored like a deep sea adventure or something like that. Like Oink games generally have nice colored boxes, so those are ones my eyes kind of gravitate toward, but you're right. I have two shelves of just really tiny games, and yeah, I play them far less unless they're at work or something like that.
Now, you will find, it feels like every gamer hits this point, right? You're like, I have so many games and so little space.
Right.
I need smaller boxes, right? But if you only have a shelf or so of games, I don't know that it matters. Yes, again, some boxes are ridiculously oversized. And if that happens, then sometimes I'll point it out in one of my videos, like I'll shove all the components in a corner. Splendor is definitely a culprit of this. But at the same time, I like the size of the Splendor box. That size works really well for me. It's a nice one to carry around, to put on a bookshelf. It looks good. Well, it would look good if it had better box, but still.
I don't disagree with that one. I don't hate the size of the paladins or architects, that kind of the Garfield box. That size fits very nicely into the calyx, and then I can actually slip a couple on top, so it actually allows me to fit more in a square. But I like that size. Now, that could just be me kind of saying, oh, it's a nice compact and neat box, but I hate waste. Like, I think it happened, there was a game, I can't remember the name of it. I opened the box, I was angry because it literally had like 20 cards in it and a couple pieces, and it was in this massive box. That's wasteful. We shouldn't be wasting. So if you can put it in a small box and that's rightly where it should be, then you should do that. If you're getting an expansion, fine. Put it in a slightly larger box, but then kind of say, oh, potentially with more coming soon. But to waste, for me, that's the biggest no-no.
Sure.
So here we have something from Jim. Recently, you discussed whether to invite novice gamers into more complex games. I found myself thinking a lot about prepping for games as a way of mitigating issues, and I guess this is a discussion that Tom and Eric have had. I consider myself a B-level gamer. I thoroughly enjoy all gaming experiences, but seldom will I win over our gaming group's A-level players. I find prepping for games has a huge impact on my personal enjoyment, the speed of getting up and running, the playtime, being comfortable and being confident myself and being able to quickly answer questions as they arise, and how competitive I will be. With so many videos and BGG forums available for review, I regularly watch a couple of videos prior to playing games with friends. So they want to know, we think, about the topic of coming to games prepared and how you feel that affects the overall gaming experience.
That's a really good
It's
question.
a great question, actually.
Because on one level, I don't like going in prepared because I want to like experience it for the first time. But well, I'm trying to look at it through like Jim's eyes.
Right.
Are you a B-level gamer, man?
But the games I reviewed today, they're definitely on the lighter side. But no, I do like those crunchier type games. And
Yeah, but I like. Where do you like if you ranked yourself in the people that you play with most often? Where would you put yourself in? How often you win, lose, etc.
Oh, I lose all the time. But I play with people like Suzanne and my friend Ashley. Oh my goodness, those two gang up on me. That's a whole other episode. Seriously, that's a whole other thing.
Therapy session beginning.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I find myself in the middle probably. Well, I don't know. Everyone always it's that Murphy's Law. Everyone thinks they're better than they are at things like, if you poll most of the people in the world and say, are you better than average driver? Almost everyone says yes.
Right.
But that's not possible. So that's just the way it is with gamers, right? So I clearly have some people I game with who win more often than not.
Sure.
And when I do win, I feel very, very, very satisfied.
Right?
But
Exactly.
I get that you can feel overwhelmed playing with these people and stuff. I don't see a problem coming in prepared as long as you don't act like that's what one needs to do.
Right.
That's where I get annoyed when someone comes in and goes, "You're using the Orfscom strategy? That's been discounted on the forums at Reddit."
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I didn't know those even existed.
Right.
That's what I have a problem with it. Otherwise, if you come in and you're like prepared and you try something cool, I'm like, wow, it's neat. I don't see that that's a problem at all.
I don't either. And I mean, I don't coming in prepared. No, I'm very well aware of the people that I play with. I have some people that are just, it doesn't matter what game you play with them. They're just awesome, amazing. They're going to win. I also am not a competitive person. So if I tried my best and I lose, well, you know what? I'll do better next time. We had a great time. So I think being prepared, as in kind of having an overall view of the game, is good. But to sit down and be like, try to develop a strategy before you play, that's not fair to you. It has to be one of those things you do in the moment. And I don't know if the group is not maybe feeling the moment, but I think trying to prep for a game, I'm a teacher. It's like doing homework and then presenting it the day of. And think about those times. You get really nervous, right? You're sweating and your mouth is dry. And who wants to play a game in that capacity?
It's like every game session. No, but I get that. I actually don't mind when I'm teaching a game if someone goes and they come in and they say, "Oh yeah, I read the rule book." I'm thinking, "Oh good, that actually makes this a little easier."
Exactly. You just go with the flow, right? And then I always say,
Unless you go, "Well, actually,
exactly, that's
page 32."
right, a verbatim, right? It's read out. No, it's one of those things where, I always preface a teach with, hey, you've read the rule book? Great. So that way, if I get something wrong or it's not correct, definitely throw that question out there and we can take a look at it. So then they're included. Maybe it's a teacher in me. I don't know.
All right, Franklin says, a while ago, Stonemeyer Games put out premium tokens for games. He loves them and uses them as much as he can. What premium game pieces do you like to use if you have the opportunity? And they also says he can't remember if you're recalling it right, but a year ago, didn't Asmodee say they were going to have a section of their company design and produce premium gaming pieces? And if they did, what happened there? Well, I can answer the second one real quick. Asmodee did. It's a company called GameGenic.
Yes. Oh, I did an interview with them recently. Fantastic stuff. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no. Now, GameGenic isn't necessarily doing game pieces, I think.
No.
They're mostly doing game storage, but it's not just sleeves.
Right.
Like, you should see their new Catan stuff.
It's so good.
I'm not a huge Catan fan, and I want to play it just to use these. They have these plastic hexagonal clear containers, and you can put all your pieces in them.
Yeah.
Stored with all the roads pointing. It's really nice. They have this deck box that holds all the cards and unfolds. Mm-hmm. And then you can draw all the cards from it, and the lid turns into a dice tray.
Right? It's so good.
And they even have boxes to hold the tiles that also unravel to be a place to roll your dice into. I think that's stupid. But the box that holds your tile, they're really, really nice. I'm going to show them off on the channel soon.
Yeah.
I just have to go to the storage unit and grab Catan.
Just so I can show them off. I know. I asked if it came in pink, purple, or black, so because those are my colors.
And they've also done some stuff. They've mostly done Keyforge so far. But I'm like, oh, wow. So this is dudes for Catan. What else can they do?
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I like the fact that they used a bit of everything. But yeah, pieces wise, I know you're right, storage and that sort of thing. But I didn't know if they were doing pieces yet.
For pieces. Actually, Stonemeyer no longer.
Yeah, didn't he stop that?
He sold the company to somebody else.
Okay.
Who I will look at while Mandy talks about if she likes using premium tokens.
Okay, sure. Yeah, let's talk about that. So premium game pieces. Okay, this is a horrible thing to say. I own very few games that are deluxeified or have lots of premium game pieces. I find it a little overpriced for some of the things, but I get it. Some people like the heavy, clanky coins and all of those sorts of things, and that's fine. I'm trying to think. I don't think I have any kits that I use. I know when I play with my friend Michael, he has the Stonemeyer premium pieces. I think like Arkham Horror and stuff we've used them for and that sort of thing. So I know for him, he loves that one. But I can't say that I've actually used premium pieces in like several games. So one that I say, oh, I love this and I have to use it with everything. Is that bad? I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay, so there's definitely the biggest one that most people do buy on Kickstarters and use is metal coins.
Sure.
Do you like them?
I do like metal coins, but I'm not spending $100 to get them.
Yeah, well, sometimes they're not that expensive.
Sure, okay.
But,
That was a stretch.
but one that is expensive, and a lot of people buy it and use it, is the Meeple Source stuff.
See, and I don't own a lot of stuff from there. I just find it, and listen, I'm not shaming anybody. If that's what you like, and I think they're wonderful and it's great, but maybe because the Canadian dollar and the US dollar is a thing, I have to watch the pennies. I'm serious.
Yeah, that's true. So the company I was thinking about earlier is Top Shelf Gamer.
Oh, okay.
So if you go to them, on their website, they'll show you all kinds of upgrades that you can buy for games. Now, realize almost always the upgrade for the game costs more than the game does.
Yeah, that's
That's just how it works. I don't know what else to tell you. For me, I don't mind that as much because if I really want to keep a game and use that game, then I'm fine with it.
Sure.
Right? Then I want my game to be awesome and amazing, and it's kind of like, buying that. But I'm not even remotely saying that that's something everybody or maybe most people should do. There's all kinds of ways to upgrade your games, and a lot of people are doing it nowadays with 3D printers.
Yes, that's very true. Very true.
And if you go to Etsy, you can find a huge amount of upgrade components for board games. I mean, so many things.
Oh, Etsy's doing everything these days.
They really are. That's where I got most of my masks from.
Oh.
So they were doing masks before everybody else was. I felt that like that's the first place I was able to find them and stuff. But anyhow, yeah, I personally love premium gaming components, but I only put them in games that I really love.
Right.
If it's a game that I'm like, it's okay, I'm not wasting my time upgrading that.
Well, yeah, never get played, right? And what's the point? It's expensive.
But that being said, folks, when conventions start up again, there are so many games in the Dice Tower library that have these premium game components, and you can mess with them. They're there for you to play with and have fun with. So there's that. Just keep that in mind.
Okay, so Chris says, oh, this is great. Something that I can relate to because I'm not military, but I do work for Department of National Defense. So Chris says that I'm in the military and conducting another move with my game collection. What suggestions do you have to keep my games in at least decent shape while limiting shake and bake or content movement during the move? I go through this at least every 2 or 3 years, but y'all do mass moves for every Dice Tower convention, so I hope you have some insight. Thanks. Oh.
First of all, Chris, good to see you again. I know who this is.
Oh, okay.
He came on a Dice Tower cruise. I would when I did the big move from Korea, I just put games inside of games.
Right. I was just about to say that. Yep.
And that's good and bad. It did stop them from shaking and baking, which is a terminology I've never used before. Actually.
Not with games, anyway.
The problem was, a couple years later, I'd open up a game and go, "Oh, that's what that little game was."
Yeah, I've done that.
And it also made the games and the boxes they were in, it makes them super heavy.
Yeah, that's true.
This is one of the problems that we run into, like, when we go to Essen, and they're like, "Hey, punch out all the pieces. That saves you like 0.0 nothing, okay?" And then you say, "Well, put games inside games." Yeah, but that volume isn't the problem. It's the weight of the suitcase that the airline's gonna come at you on.
Absolutely.
But for other things, when we move the stuff across, we've had so many problems with it. It makes me sad just talking about it. But we rubber band all the boxes. That also helps. It keeps the box lids from coming off. I make sure everything in a box is in a bag, if at all possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or some sort, so that they don't all fall over the place. So that's what I do.
I've used, and I hope this doesn't come across wrong, but I've used underwear or small things, clothing.
Socks.
Sure. But basically, anything that you have that's small that will fit in the box, you just roll them up. And I find that will also help. But the bagging is definitely a good way to go.
I used to do this all the time when I lived in Korea. Korea has a lot of great things, but some things I couldn't get in Korea. So I'd come back to America and buy American hot sauces. Korea has lots of spices, but it's a different kind, right?
Right.
So I'd bring these hot sauces back, and I was like, "Oh, how am I going to get these in a suitcase?" So I would always take my socks that I took socks, and I'd roll them up inside the socks.
Oh, that's good.
And every time I went through customs, I was like, "Please don't open this. I don't have to explain
Why?
why I have socks full of hot sauce and board games. That's all. And then a few small clothings."
Exactly. It's very suspicious.
All right, Bob says he primarily plays games with his wife, and he finds that they both narrate their turn. "I'm turning in this for this. I'm moving 3 spaces." So Bob says, is this normal or the result of having a blind family member, so we're used to verbalizing what we're doing? And if it's not common for other gamers, if we joined a group, is it likely to be annoying?
I do this. All of my gaming group, we all do this. Even when I play with Suzanne, she does it. I don't know if it's a way to walk through your turn or just so everybody kind of hears what you're doing, so maybe they can prep for their turn. But I don't find that annoying at all, and nobody in my group finds it annoying. We all do it.
I found it annoying once when we were playing Pendulum, a real-time strategy game, which I mentioned earlier in here, and someone was narrating their moves out loud, and I was like, "Shut up!"
Yeah,
I'm trying to do my move at the same time.
Yeah, that probably would be the one time where you don't, like if I'm playing like a Millennium Blades or something like that, no, I don't need to narrate.
Or the person who, when the game's over, like, "Let's all count up our scores," and someone's like, 16, 18, and you're like, "Look, I can't count while you're counting out loud." But other than that, I actually find it more annoying the person who goes, "Blah, blah, blah, I'm done." And I'm like, "Whoa.
It's like, what did you do? Right?
What did you do?" And they're like, "You didn't notice?" I'm like, "No." And then later on you miss something and you're like, "Well, I never know you went to that spot." They're like, "Well, you should have seen it." Well, if you had said it. So first of all, if you have a blind family member, that's a great thing that you did this. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
And I actually could see some groups maybe being annoyed by it, but for the most part, I would imagine most people won't.
Yeah, I mean, we do it. Our group, we've never had complaints about doing it, and maybe also too because I teach. In our game group when I go to our game nights, I teach new people, so it's another kind of way for some people to understand the game a little bit better. Everybody learns differently, right? So I think it's great, and no, I do not find it annoying.
I've been waiting for this question.
Which one? The next one here from Corey?
Yeah, this Corey one.
Okay.
Come on.
All right, here we go.
Ask me if I'm a liar.
All right, so Corey says, you have recently discussed embargoed news and the general idea of knowing secrets in the industry. So they have a related doublethink question here. So let's say you know a secret about game A, then someone directly asks you about this game in the course of normal conversation. Do you specifically say, "I can't comment on that," which of course immediately communicates that you know something? Or do you make up some answer without impact, pretending that you know nothing and flex your acting skills? Or do you ignore the question and dodge the subject? So they're saying that, this must have come up at least once in your past and reminds me of no communications board games. We're not where even non-communicating still conveys information about what you know.
Oh, that's true. Like, there's still people who argue about the mind.
Okay.
About just by the way you act, you're giving information to other people. And I think you can take it too far. But,
Right.
so, yes, I sometimes know secrets. This year, I knew about Pendulum beforehand. I knew about Pandemic Legacy Season 0. I actually have a game right now I can't talk about. Most of my conversation for this comes online. You know, people ask me questions, and then I just don't answer them. if it's that pointed, you'd be surprised. You don't get as many pointed questions as you might think.
No.
What will happen is someone will come and go, "Hey, Tom, did you hear about this Pandemic Legacy Season 0?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, it sounds really good. I've not lied." And usually they're not like, "Do you have it?" You know. So that doesn't usually happen. And by the way, folks, I'm not opening a door for people to start doing this.
Exactly. I'm trying to think what I do. I think I say, can't talk about it. I've done that before. It's like, don't ask, can't talk about it. Or I have done I don't know what you're talking about. I have done that.
Now, it comes up from us reviewers when we talk to other reviewers. We feel them out. We're like, "So did you hear about this new game? Have you seen it?" Or what? You're trying to like find out if they have it, because if they do, then you're like, "Oh my goodness, let's talk about it."
Exactly.
But there's not that many secret games in the industry. I guess there is a lot of secret games, but they're usually like before Kickstarter.
Right.
So it's not even that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Most companies will take you at your word. Over the course of 15 years or 20 years of reviewing, I think I've signed 3 NDAs maybe. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, it's not been a problem. I've spoiled something once by accident.
Sure.
I had Descent 2nd edition early, and it was in the background of a video. Back then I did videos in 480, so you could barely tell. And yet people screenshotted it, posted it up.
Oh, no.
And I woke up to a phone call from Christian Peterson.
Oh, dear.
Which it all went down. I apologized profusely. They realized I did not do it on purpose.
Right.
And, it went well there. It was not my goal. But if someone asked me this, I would just probably try to dodge the question. And I found that with most people, it's going to happen. It's not like I'm hiding. It's not like I'm on the witness stand.
Sure.
Right? If someone comes to me and goes, "Hey, have you heard about this new game?" And I'm like, "Yeah, oh, by the way, what do you think about this?" Everyone will go, "Oh, yeah, what about that?" They're not going to go, "Hang on a second. You know something. Tell me, Vassal." That just doesn't happen.
It doesn't. I'm picturing you like that happening, and then you're trying to matrix it, like, trying to avoid talking about it.
Well, it actually did happen a little bit with Pandemic Legacy Season 0. Because Jason came in, he's like, "Have you heard about this?" I was like, "I have." He's like, "Well, when you get it, let me know."
Oh, goodness.
I said, "We'll see." But I already had it and had already played it,
Oh, jeez. Spoiler, Jason.
Now he knows now.
Okay.
I offered to give him the leftover game.
Oh, that's
Anyway.
just terrible.
So, actually, we talked about the fact, we said, we could put all this back in there, get a shrink wrap machine, shrink it. He'll take it, stick it in his collection, never open it, and think he has a complete game.
That's a fair point, actually.
Alrighty. Last question for today. And thank you, by the way. These have been great questions. I really like them.
They've been awesome.
Paul says, "Is it okay to rank a board game on Board Game Geek based only on playing the app? Some apps fix issues with the physical game, such as set up teardown time, preventing rules mistakes, or even add extra content, which may change our rating of the game. Should there be a separate app entry to the Board Game Geek rankings list? And if so, which game do you think would get the biggest ratings boost due to its app?"
Ooh. That's a really good question. I mean, I personally don't think it's fair to rate it based on the app. I think it should be separate, to be honest. What do you think, Tom?
Well, there's very few games that I've played only the app.
Really?
In fact, I'm trying to think of many. I I must have played one or two that I played only the app,
Like
and not the board game. But
Yeah, like I don't love Splendor. Like I really don't. But I've played the app.
I will say that it's so far I'm finding it 50-50, that sometimes I like the app experience better. Like I just mentioned, I play Sentinels of Multiverse. I like the app experience better than the board game. Viticulture, I like the board game better than the app. So it kind of I smash up. I way like the actual playing of it better than the app.
Okay.
So yeah, it would actually need a separate rating. So I might rate it if it was the only thing I played and I want to put the rating on Board Geek, I would put that rating, and then in the comments I would say based on the app only.
Yeah. Do you think people would read that though?
Well, they might not, but then if they're not reading it, they're not going to look at your one rating anyway and care about it.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would change it so much. But I'm saying if you do a comment about the game and be like, I really like this game or whatever, then I would mention you'd play with the app.
Got it.
You're right, though. The apps, I'm telling you, I've not been part of this app scene till the year 2020.
Oh, come on. You have to admit, talking to Suzanne and I about some apps have really opened your eyes.
Yeah, I'm all on board this. I mean, I'm still trying to shake that addiction to Spire.
I was trying not to mention it, but
I mean, because what happens is I'll play an app, I'll be like, that's a really fun app, I'm going to play it again. But also, I could play Slay the Spire.
sorry, I'm picturing it. It's very funny.
Now I'm currently playing Slay the Spire with amalgam characters, like mixing two characters together to see how that feels. That's kind of fun.
Wow, you're way ahead of me.
Yeah, it unfortunately keeps track of the time played. And I'm not thrilled about that. I try not to look at it. Alrighty, folks. Well, if you asked a question and I emailed you back and said, we're going to talk about this in the show and you haven't heard it yet, well, it's still coming. We still got some questions left, but you can always send more. Thanks, Mandy. I think you did a fantastic job. I don't need Eric anymore. Thank you, Eric, for all your hard work you've done.
Bye, Eric. See you later. Just kidding.
But all right. Well, next week, Mandy and Suzanne will be back. We got, so many cool games are coming out this year to talk about. So there's always more good stuff. You can find us on the web. Mandy and Suzanne are doing videos. So some of those will be coming up. Just keep an eye on our Dice Tower channel when you'll see them be live and scheduled.
Exactly. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. But I think that's it. So, folks, until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
And I'm Mandy Hutchinson.
And you've been listening to The Dice Tower.
Thanks for listening. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. This episode, number 671, was recorded on August 14th, 2020. Mandy and Suzanne join you next week, and in 2 weeks, Tom and I strive strenuously to whittle down our top 10 games that start with the letter S. This podcast is sponsored by listeners like you. Thank you for your continued support. And speaking of support, the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund is dedicated to providing support to members of the board gaming community in their hour of need. If a catastrophic event has become more than you can handle, find out how we can help at jackvassell.org. The Dice Tower is produced by Tom, Mandy, Suzanne, and Eric, with assistance from Rob Searing, Mike DeLisio, and Roy Kennedy. Our joint replacement program for Mr. Claus provided by Santa Rini. Timothy Pinkham composed our theme, and you can get the latest on everything Dice Tower at Dicetower.com. Let us know what you think of the show by posting to the Dice Tower Guild at BoardGameGeek.com, following the Dice Tower on Twitter, or by emailing us at Tom@Dicetower.com, Mandy@Dicetower.com, or Eric@Dicetower.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network, including Board with Video Games, Meeple Overboard, Solosaurus, Flip Flory's Super Saturday Board Game Serial, Every Night is Game Night, Our Turn, Board Game Blitz, and Dice Tower Tonight. Find your next favorite at Dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all the gang at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming.
Do you think you could imitate Eric's voice?
Maybe if I talk low?
Here's the problem. The problem is there's the evil future Eric, and he will find out if we talk about this, so we need to hush up now.
Evil? Huh.